Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hivemind Recap Podcast. August 2024 is not actually done yet. We're recording this episode earlier than we typically would. Derek's going away for a couple weeks, so either we do this at the very end of August, or we're doing this basically in the end of September. So we figured that we will do it early this month. We've still got plenty of music to talk about, and from what we can tell, there aren't a ton of releases releasing tomorrow, August 30th. That we're super interested in, so we aren't missing out on too much. We are missing out on a couple things. We may touch on them in our September recap next month, but for now, we got a lot of music to talk about from August. Justin, Derek, and Jacob, how are we feeling on this Thursday night?
Better than I was, like, the first half of the month. I mentioned to the boys afterward, but, like, I was sick with, I think, a sinus infection early in the month.
Gross.
I don't know.
Came out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah, man, there's so much like different sicknesses and stuff going around. I feel like people were just randomly getting sick. COVID came back.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, going to hell in I may have had COVID at the beginning of August, but I don't know.
My sister had strep last week. So, jeez. I mean, my sister and my mom are both very prone to getting sick because they work at a preschool, and you know they're not exactly known to be the cleanest of places. So, I am very lucky that like I feel like they come home being sick like a couple times a year, if not like once a month. But I almost never end up getting it. Maybe it's because I isolate myself very well in the basement. But
yeah, I was about to
consider
say,
myself quite lucky.
I think school started this week for at least us. So that's probably why a lot of stuff is going around now because everyone's out getting all that shit done and whatnot. So,
doesn't start
for me
next week.
It depends on the area. Where I was back in Tennessee, it started like first week of August. Here it starts this week.
America.
Yeah, it's just weird.
Yo, I got the best transition. Speaking of America, I went to a concert.
That's right. I forgot people went to concerts. I didn't go to this month.
I didn't go for the first time in 4 months. I did not go to a concert this month.
I didn't go to one either. It's all you, Jacob. Get in there.
Well, you guys will be happy to know that I had my hog cranked.
Did Bill Murray have you pledge allegiance to America?
No, man. I wore a Canadian cowboy hat, and just to be different. And literally,
did you get any crowd reactions from the hat?
No. While I was walking back from the bus, I did. It's like, why are those guys wearing cowboy hats?
Dude,
buddy, you didn't get your hog cranked.
I've seen videos of the Bill Murray show, and people have like tricked themselves out. Someone had a backpack with a LED of one of the music videos just playing.
Yeah, it was awesome. Literally, the first song was Better Hell, and you know the first in the song?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. My hat fell off when I did that.
Oh no!
Instantly.
That's the first song. I thought you were gonna say he like barked or something.
Yeah, you cranked your hog a little too hard, bro.
My hat fell off immediately. But yeah, it was awesome. Honestly, you go for Bill Murray and you stay for what's her name? Gabby on the sax. It's so entertaining, dude. She literally steals the show. Well, maybe a little too much, honestly. They had I forget which song it was, but she brought out a flute for one. And she sings, and they did it all like all the feature. Like Bill Murray has a lot of features, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's all seamless within his band.
That's awesome.
It's all they got it all covered. They did the Anabolic Spudman Thick Edition as well, the Will Ramos one. Yeah, it was honestly you got to see it. It was a lot better than the last time I saw him. I could actually see this time. Bigger venue too, and yeah, it was pretty incredible. 10 out of 10 would crank my hog again.
Would crank again.
Would crank again.
Question: did you feel more American in that venue, or when you visited us in Virginia 2 years ago? What was more America?
That was more.
We went to
American.
Waffle House. We definitely were very American.
Can Bill Murray stack up to Waffle House?
Well,
that's the question.
You know what he said though? You know what Johnny said is he's like, "This is the most American room in Canada right now."
Probably, arguably true. Arguably true.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have a good defense to prove otherwise.
Incredible.
Anyway.
They played a lot of Eggy Pocket songs too, which I was really happy with.
As he should. It's his best album.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know about that, but second best.
Well, yeah. True. Sorry, I forgot.
As I was saying, anyway, since it's seemingly the only show that any of us went to this month, let's get straight into wait till next month. Let's get straight into our playlist. You can check out the Spotify playlist for everything we are discussing in this episode. And yeah, with that being said, be sure to follow us on social media at HivemindRadio_ on Instagram and Twitter. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We live stream each of these monthly recaps. You can hang out in the chat with us, share your opinions on any of the songs that we talk about as we are discussing them live. Be sure to subscribe to get notifications on that and any other videos and shorts that we upload to the channel. And also follow us on Spotify and any other podcast platform where you're listening to us. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. Let's talk about the first song of the month, or rather, let me pass the torch back to Jacob to talk about the first song of the month.
We got Boston Manor with new single Horses in a Dream. Exposed to the soul, everything is moving in slow motion, kind of feeling I could die for it. And I don't know what number single this is. There's been a few that we haven't covered on the podcast, but this has been my favorite so far. And it's kind of just a vibe, honestly. I don't think this album is shaping up to be better than the last one. But my mind could be totally flipped, because that's what my thoughts were similar to this going into the last album, so. But, yeah, this is a chill song. It's a little different for Boston Manor. It's also safe at the same time.
I'm at a point with Boston Manor where I've stopped listening to the singles because I feel like they're not a band that I'm that invested in to where listening to the singles will make me get more excited for the album. And I feel like I'm better off just experiencing it all as one whole album, and I feel like that's where I enjoy Boston Manor the most. Yeah. So I've held off on listening to this one in the past couple singles. I think I only heard, was it Sliding Doors? Maybe one other song.
That was the name of one of them. Yeah.
Well, I remember
because I track with this album cycle.
Yeah. I don't know when the album comes out, but I'm sure we'll be discussing it
next week.
Next week. All right, bet. We'll talk about it in next month's episode.
September is fucked for albums.
There's a lot to talk about next month. September might be the month this year that we split into 2 episodes.
Yeah, actually 3 episodes. One for the show review, one for the single review, one for the album review. Jake.
Future Palace have released brand new single, Decarabia.
Yeah, I just searched this
off of yes, I was about to get into that. This album's also coming out next week, first week of September 6th. So Boston Manor and Future Palace dropping albums on the same day. That's pretty hype. This reminds me of Anchor in a lot of ways, where this song leans a lot more into the electronics than the past couple of singles have. You get a very trance-ish undertone to the instrumentation here. That's pretty fun. I enjoyed the song a lot. That being said, Decarabia is a demon.
We got 2 now, right?
Did a little bit of work. Yeah, we got 2 of them now. We got Malphus as the lead single. We got Decarabia as this one.
Demon it is?
I did, but I didn't write it down. I want to say it's 69.
It is.
That's awesome.
So some other lore about Decarabia real quick. When summoned, Decarabia appears as a pentagram star. although he will take the form of a man if the conjurer requests it, according to some demonology website that I found.
God, I do not want to be squared up by a devil that's just a standing 2D pentagram.
Some shit out of Gary's mod.
I'm no demonologist, but clearly Future Palace are leaning into demon lore for Distortion, and it'll be interesting to see how that full picture develops when the album drops next week, because I feel like there has to be some tie between Decarabia and Malphas and the entire album. One song named after a demon, okay, you're trying to say something. 2 songs, there's got to be a link there somewhere.
Do you have the track, like the names already?
I don't, but the track list is out there somewhere. This is a really solid single. I'm quite excited for the album. I'm sure I don't know. I feel like I'm not as excited for this album as I was going into their first 2 albums. I'm more cautiously optimistic than I feel like I should be, because I've enjoyed all of the singles, but Uncontrolled and the Echoes of Disparity have kind of fallen off for me, really just leaving Malphas and Dream State and now Decarabia, which is still a really solid set of 3 singles, but I don't know if it holds up as the singles did for their first 2 albums, so I'm going to be interested to see.
I've done my research. There's one more song that is... Okay, I'll tell you the name. It's A Fool on a Devil's Reigns. So I got some more demon stuff.
Yeah, I don't have too much more to say. Solid Future Palace song. We'll be sure to review it more next month.
We got Phrenia back again with their new single, You Are Your Own Worst Enemy, off of an upcoming album.
Have you ever felt that something changed? Am I insane?
Phrenia popped with this one.
This is probably the heaviest they've been since anything off of Separated.
Probably, yeah. And it works.
Yeah, instrumentally as fucks. I really like the I don't want to really call it chanting, but kind of like the vocals that are not as clear, but almost kind of like a crowd chanting them.
Mm-hmm.
So I really liked that. It's very catchy, just all throughout it. I would say this probably stacks up with, you know, the top half of Separated. My favorite single, which I don't think is going to be out on the album, is still probably Dissonance right now. But they dropped a lot of good stuff over the last 2 years, so I'm just going to be really curious to see what the entirety of this album is going to sound. Apparently, it's still going to be a combination of Hungarian songs and English songs.
No.
So,
no.
Well, I'm curious to see how it will be involved, because I think what Separated did right was kind of blend them in a mix where they kind of broke up a lot of like the monotony of the album a little bit, for me at least. So I'm curious to see how it's gonna shift and mold into that. We're probably not gonna see it till next year, unless they suddenly drop the next 2 singles over the next like month or so and drop it in November or December. But it's looking like a 2025 album.
As much as I would like for this to be a 2024 album, because these recent singles have been really good. I really enjoyed this one. Spent a lot of time with it. I'm going to be curious to see how the Hungarian songs, how I take those in on the album when it comes out. Because when I first heard Separated, they really kind of took me out of the album experience. But since then, I've gotten into Hanabi, and Que Mas Quieres by The Warning, the only Spanish song on that album, has also become like not my least favorite song on the album, and like middle of the pack to like upper end favorite from that album. So like I feel like I'm making ground on enjoying non-English songs. So who knows?
I should get some alcohol and take a drink every time I hear Jake on a podcast say The Warning. I would be out cold by the end.
I also feel like it's not fair to be mad at a band for making a song in their native language.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, yeah, it
Unfortunately,
we
don't speak that negative language.
We're the foreigners to them, honestly.
Yeah.
But it works well when they do it. Honestly, going through the last couple of singles, they pretty much can do anything. The only one that I wasn't really too high on was Into Infinity. But even then, that just kind of felt like, just a bridge the gap between singles before they actually get the ball rolling on what's on the album. So, we'll see.
Before we move on, I just want to shout out, because we haven't really talked about it specifically, the guitar work across this entire song is fantastic.
Oh, yeah, no, like the entire instrumentation is just phenomenal.
Phrenia special.
Yep.
Let's get into the good shit, though. Traceless are back with a new song titled Defy.
Isn't it deify?
Deify or deify.
Yeah.
What?
5 letters.
Listen to the song.
5 letters.
You guys are wrong.
Guys, this is the song of the month, I think.
Guys, I think this might be the song of the month.
Yeah.
I can't say that. I'm sorry.
This is Traceless's best song.
Yeah,
this is their best song.
Yeah, I'm willing to give that to them.
It's totally different from what they've done, so I don't know.
Well, the last single they said was done in 2021, so this is essentially like a new era for them. And I think this kind of like new metal era style that's kind of similar to a little bit of like Nevertell, but also like a mix of its own thing. I think this works super well for them. This is the perfect direction they need to go in.
I feel like, at least for Justin and I, we are really big fans of bands that use harsh vocals as like an accent, or like use them don't get me wrong, I like me some metalcore, but we have a special spot for bands that mostly do cleans, but when the breakdown hits, or you need to really like hammer home a specific delivery in a verse or something, you bring out the unclean vocal to add emphasis. Yeah, Dayseeker definitely like one of the most notable bands doing that sort of thing, but I feel like Traceless absolutely nailed that. The build up into the breakdown, you can feel that tension and that anger coming out before Derek just fucking belts in the breakdown, and it's fantastic.
Derek, you did that?
Yeah, I stayed belted.
We saw him at the Battlements concert. He can
True, actually. But what I think is even more cool about this is how they nailed the bridge out of the breakdown. The kind of trippier electronics, and then the drumming and synths and electronics, the way it all comes together in the super, like, I don't know how to describe it, but I love the atmosphere that the post breakdown kind of gives to the song. It's super cool. Not to mention just everything else in the song is phenomenal as well. Traceless's post-hardcore staple sound that they've kind of honed in over the past few years. They took that and they just amped it up with this one and knocked it out of the park.
Can we talk about the lyrics in the breakdown too? Forgive me, Father, I must confess. My only convictions are self-possessed. We'll watch as all your false idols fall and we'll take control. It's too late to pray, beg to be saved. We're here to take your place.
Yeah.
Phenomenal delivery.
Yeah.
So good. More of this. Yes.
More. I will absolutely welcome more of this.
All right. I got another one for my train. We got Glasswaves coming back with their new single, Monarch.
I'm choking on these butterflies again. Their hands around my neck are closing in, but I can't.
This is my single of the month.
Really? I could see it, actually. I'm surprised. I thought that this... It's not a surprise that you added it. It's a surprise that, like, you're into the heaviness of this at points. Like, I didn't think this was all the way up your alley. So I'd like to hear why.
So I think I listened to like twice, and I think then Traceless kind of came in with a steel chair. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna take over your weekend and that fun stuff, as Traceless does. And then I went back to this about a couple days after it dropped, and something about it, the instrumentation, the delivery in his voice, like the raspiness, in the like verses and just the emotion that you can almost feel in it, almost kind of gives me a Bring Me the Horizon, Parasite Eve kind of style emotion to it. I wouldn't really fully compare it that, but that's kind of just what first came to mind to me. But this has just been in constant rotation for me all month. Something about that emotion with the vocals, the raspiness to it all, that kind of almost like a desperation that you can feel in his vocals, and then the instrumentation picking up in the chorus. The lyrics of the chorus are just phenomenal. I'm choking on these butterflies again. The hands around my neck are closing in, but I can't pretend I'm innocent. I spent my second chances. Romance is the death wish we thought we had, which I think is probably like one of the best single lyrics within the last couple months. The romance is the death wish we thought we had. The breakdown in this as well. It's not so heavy that it turns me away. It actually like more cements that emotion to it all, and it just keeps bringing me back into it. This has been super replayable for me all month. It's gotten me to go back to their Discog, and I'm kind of sad that we didn't talk about The Hell You Made when that dropped, because I got some new appreciation for that song. Their debut single Dead Dreams is still a fucking banger.
Yeah, that's still my favorite.
These guys are insanely talented. It's crazy that. Thank you, dog. I'm glad you agree. I've got some new appreciation for this band. I'm very, very glad that they are East Coast. I think they're Maryland based. They're very close as far as like East Coast based. Rochester, according to Spotify. But I need to see these guys live. This sounds like an experience that would just be amazing live. I need a project from all of this stat.
I would love to hear an EP from these guys, because they would slot right into a EP of the year contender, in all honesty. Like, EPs, I know you disagree with me, Justin, but EPs have not been that strong this year overall. Glasswaves could absolutely come in with a banger EP, and I would not be surprised.
Yeah, works for me. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question, Derek, on why this has been like I've been obsessed with.
It's a banger. I don't blame you.
It's so good. Glasswaves, give me more, please. I ask nicely.
I don't know if Jacob is still dealing with dog problems or not.
We'll see.
You say problems. I say they enrich the experience.
Not for the audio listeners. That's everybody.
Fair.
Let us know if you like hearing dog noises.
No, nobody likes hearing dog noises. All right. Rain City Drive have released new single Over Me.
You're over me, pretty faces overseas. Keep me company, fading from the memory of my evergreen. Thought that you.
This also came with the album announcement. Things Are Different Now. Album September 27th.
Oh, yeah.
Rain City Drive are so fucking back. I feel like I've been saying that for every single they've dropped this year, but my god, are they so fucking back. Rain City Drive are the saviors that 2024 needed.
I don't like this as much as Never Bloom. Is that the name of the song? Yeah.
I personally have skipped this one because the album is very close. So
I don't think I'll listen to the next one. I think it's next week.
Yeah, it's next week.
But yeah, I enjoyed this. I think it's I don't know if it's I'd probably put it bottom half of singles, honestly. But I really like the layering at the end of the song. That's the word I was looking for.
This is just Rain City Drive doing their thing at this point. They are locked in. Just, they are 4 for 4. They have not missed. This album is already on track to be taking them back to better days, to the quality and the enjoyment that I had on that album. And it is my most anticipated album of next month, and potentially even the rest of the year at this point. There's one other name we'll get to in a bit that is fighting for that spot, but Rain City Drive have just been knocking it out of the park this year. This is my least favorite of the 4 singles, and it is still one of my favorite songs of the month.
I think I like it more than Frozen. That's where I put it. Medicate Me is second. Never Blooms first.
Yeah, at this one I'd probably go Medicate Me, Frozen, Never Bloom This. But I could easily, like, any of those top 3 are fair. I don't know. They're all so good. I'll come back with an actual order when we discuss the album next month. But yeah, things are different now. Album next month. Super excited. Over Me's fantastic single. Derek, you have any thoughts on this one, or?
I didn't listen to it. I'm saving it for the album.
All right, bet.
Two. You got
Justin,
2 of them saving it.
Take us on.
Glassheart are back with their new single, "The Worst Part of Me."
You've always been the worst part of me. I'm so done with you crying to me. Every day we replay on the side of the piece.
This is a banger.
Yeah, no, ever since fucking Colorblind dropped last year, Glassheart, anything they have put out has just been phenomenal, and this is no different.
This is a really interesting song structure to it.
Yeah, I thought that too, because it was really weird. I thought this would be much more of just a slow ballad all throughout. But you can tell the instruments and the mostly the drums picking up more and more as the verses and the chorus go through. And then you get that instrumental kind of breakdown to layer into the final chorus. I think this works super well.
I'm curious to know if this is part of an EP or an album or something, because to me this feels like the type of almost like an interlude track akin to like a Hopes and Dreams by Caskets. Like the song that you throw like towards the middle back end of an album to kind of progress the story or just like the pacing and the flow of a full release. It's still really good as like its own standalone thing, but I feel like it has good like transitional energy to it to serve as like a vessel for something else. Speaking of vessel, low-key Sweep Token vibes here. Am I uncultured, or are there low-key Sweep Token vibes here?
I would say more like. So it's actually very weird. Yeah. The vocalist does photography for Sleep Token.
Oh, this is Adam. What's his name?
Adam Ross. Yes.
Huh.
I think it's the R&B-esque sections that might give that vibe, at least to me. I don't know. This reminded me a lot more of that. That period. Maybe Justin knows more than anybody else. There was a period from like October 2021 through like the start of 2022 where like R&B core was just hitting, and like a bunch of different bands are dropping it. This like that time period is very nostalgic for me personally, even though it was only like 2.5 years ago. And this took me right back to it. I love this. This style of music with all its different facets put together and executed really well.
According to social media posts, this was tagged with chapter 3 starts. So this is, or chapter 3 begins. So this is likely an album, I want to say.
Yeah.
Which
I'm interested.
There is a world that Colorblind and Letting Go are not on this album, and that kind of upsets me. But if it's the reality I have to live in, where I get a banger Glassheart album, I guess I have to live with it.
It's like Conquer Divide not putting fucking Chemical and what was the other one? Paralyzed? No. Paralyzed? It was Paralyzed, right? Weren't on the album?
No, Paralyzed on the album. It was Messy and Chemicals.
Messy. Yeah, whatever. I'm bad at memorizing these things. Yeah. Let's move on, shall we? Yes? Cool. All right, Melissa Bonney, lead vocalist of Ad Infinitum, has put out a solo song, Gravitate.
Love me right, all this heart will turn into it's a roller coaster, baby. Yes, the fucking road to
Is that who this is for? Or who this is from, rather?
Yes, this is
Okay,
Melissa
I knew she
Bonney of
sounded
Ad
familiar.
Infinitum. Yeah.
Okay.
This is her first, like, as far as I can tell, her first original song in, like, years. Under, like, her solo project of just, like, herself. She's still doing Ad Infinitum stuff. We haven't talked about it. There's an Ad Infinitum album coming out in October. 3 singles have dropped for it. I haven't included any of them in any of our plays. I'm saving them the entire discussion for when the album drops. But I was very surprised to see her drop a solo song like this. And I was also very surprised to hear it lean into just, like, pop rock. I don't know why I expected something a little more slower or synth poppy. Maybe it's just the way that the song opens with a very, like, dancey, like, dance poppy, like, la 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 delivery. But then the chorus kicks in and the guitars and the bass and everything comes in, and it doesn't sound that different from an Ad Infinitum song instrumentally. Lyrically, I definitely think, like, lyrically and vocally, I definitely think there's a gap between this and what she does with Ad Infinitum. But I expected there to be more of a contrast between the two projects. With all that out the way, though, I really enjoyed this, and dare I say, I've enjoyed this song more than any of the recent Ad Infinitum singles. I really enjoy the fun, upbeat energy in this one. The delivery in the chorus of, yeah, it's a roller coaster, baby. It's just a really fun song. The other interesting thing about this one that I wanted to point out, if you listen to the opening of this song and then trigger warning, Justin, if you go to the warning in their song More, I believe it's either More or Sick. I don't remember off the top of my head. I should have written this down. It's either More or Sick, but the opening to this song feels eerily similar to More. I want to say it's More. If I'm wrong, then I deserve to lose all credentials for the 3,000 views I got on that album discussion. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. Melissa Bonney is a super talented vocalist, and curious to see if she's going to be putting out any other solo songs in the future. That takes us to our next single, and the one I hinted at earlier. Make Them Suffer have released brand new single Oscillator off of upcoming album, self-titled album coming out in November.
Album of the year?
Yeah, very potentially.
It could be.
Like, dare I say this is shaping up to be the best metalcore album I've heard since Internal Blue.
No, this is already better.
Ooh. Whoa. Calm it down there, buddy.
Already better. So, I actually think this is the weakest single.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I agree. But it's also, like, again, when I was saying with Rain City Drive, they're 4 for 4. It's so hard for me to rank them. It's like, you're telling me that I need to put Oscillator in 4th? Okay, let's play out the hypothetical. What if Oscillator isn't 4th? You're telling me it's Epitaph?
Yeah.
Nah. Pretty
convincing.
You're telling me...
I know, I
feel
got
like...
beef with you for that one. It's shaking more than anybody.
Make Them Suffer are just on a fucking roll. They're paving the way for metalcore in the year 2024. They are somehow managing to sound unique and distinct in a genre that feels so oversaturated. Not to say that the oversaturation is a bad thing, because there's a lot of fantastic metalcore out there. But Make Them Suffer really feel like they are making a unique style of metalcore that I don't feel like anyone else is doing, or at least if there are other bands doing it, I'm not aware of them, or they are not doing it nearly as well.
But
yeah.
So the one critique I have about this is the breakdown feels like Is it Doom Switch? Yes.
It is
yeah,
kind of Doom Switch like.
It sounds almost identical to Doom Switch. And I don't know. I like some uniqueness.
I'd say I don't know if I want to even call it a flaw, 'cause, like, I like it, but it's also like I'm a little unsure on how I feel about it. It's the pre-chorus where Alex screams delete esque.
Is that supposed to be escape?
Yeah. But she says it as esque.
I didn't even
Should have
catch
pulled the
that,
plug at
honestly.
the get-go. Yeah, delete esque.
That's
It works because there are a lot of connections to like electronics and let the signal flood those dopamine receptors. I don't know, like it kind of works, but esque is a little weird.
It's probably because it's like it had just worked, so it cuts her off, like in the story of the song.
Yeah, maybe. It still just sounds a little weird to me. And I don't know if I'm
Probably.
gonna ever be able to get over that. Like, I still think the song is fantastic. As I said, Make Them Suffer on a Roll is just shaping up to be an easy top 10, top 5 album of the year contender, honestly.
So I'm a little curious what you guys think about this. Or the answer could be both. Do you think this song is about drugs or like phone addiction?
I think it's about drugs. I thought it was well, I shouldn't even say that. I think it's just about addiction in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry. I should have phrased it that way.
I think it's a decent commentary on it. I feel like
Yeah, it could be both. It could be both.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just the idea of like you were somebody different before you started, abusing whatever it is you're addicted to, and now it's like you can't even save yourself. Like I can't save you type of deal. I liked it. I thought it was like a decent commentary on it. It wasn't like groundbreaking. It wasn't like I'm hearing something like I don't know, from last year, To Kill Achilles was really the one that like blew my mind. But I think that there are a lot of bands out there who convey this message a lot more generically and not quite as well. So for Make Them Suffer to get it and then also bring in, incredible vocals, electronics. The electronics here really, I think, are what set them apart.
Yeah.
Alex is
That's kind of the Make Them
killing it.
Suffer staple at this point.
Yeah, thankfully. He's got to have some band out here doing it.
Yeah.
They're closer to Icy Stars than Icy Stars is. How did we get here?
Oh God, there was an Icy Star song this month too. We don't want to talk about that.
How did we get here? Icy Stars flew a little too close to the sun.
Too, yeah.
Nosedive into it. Good lord.
It would be Colorblind if they nosedived into it. Something? Transition?
I forgot the U. I'm gonna do the transition, then I'll say this.
Colorblind have dropped their new single, Needle Eye.
Giving my life for you through a needle eye. Don't wanna hear the truth, think I need a lie. Baby, just so I can get through the night.
All right, now I'm gonna say it. If I see them at the casket show, I'm gonna tell them they're missing the U in their name.
Gosh.
I'm still sad that these guys got sick just before they were supposed to play Hartford with Honey Revenge. Man. Not that they would have played this song, but yeah, this is really good. I was actually not that huge on this song when it first came out, but the more I've listened to it throughout the month, that hook of the fucking... I didn't write it down. Do you have it written down, Justin, the chorus?
I have it right in front of me. Tell me, how do you sleep at night? You cut me open and just set me aside. Can't fit my love for you through a needle eye. Don't want to hear the truth. Think I need a lie. Baby, just so
that
I can
line
get
right
through
there.
the night. Tomorrow, I will say goodbye. That lyric structure is very Talk to a Friend-esque to me.
I can kind of see it.
Very similar to the 5 questions verse that we all reference. I think Colorblind, their album next year, is gonna be a standout. They don't write bad music.
Yeah, no, they don't. I know, Derek, you were really high on their last EP. I was more so just a really big fan of a couple songs off of it, rather than the EP as a whole, but The Colorblind debut album is gonna smack. This is a fantastic lead single.
I'm a big sucker for when like a band comes out of a bridge and then goes like full acoustic. Good example is like The Jig Is Up by Ice Nine Kills, or Every Time You Leave by Prevail. And this song did that for me, so just wanted to comment on.
It's a very good detail that not a lot of bands do, but when it's done right, it really adds to the song. I'm really curious what they're gonna play as a set.
When's your show? Is it before or after mine?
It's after yours, I think. Mine's on the 25th. Let me double check. Yeah, 25th.
Oh, I think it's the day after. Holy shit, they're gonna travel far. Oh wait, no. That's
yours
after
is like a week before, right?
Yeah. I was thinking of a different show. Never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine's the 15th.
But this is a really infectious song. If I haven't been as addicted to Glasswaves, this is definitely a top 3 single of the month for me.
Yeah, this Colorblind song was one that I didn't love on first listen. I think I was overtaken by Make Them Suffer plus these next 2 songs, or next 3 songs, really. Colorblind just kind of fell to the wayside. But the more I go back to the song, the more that needle eye chorus delivery just gets stuck in my head, and it's so good.
Very, very catchy.
Speaking of catchy, Paloma have dropped brand new single, Liar Liar. Their first song of this year, and in my opinion, this is their best song in years. This is
I think you mean
probably
Paramore dropped a new single.
Palomore.
Give me Paramore with breakdowns and we'll talk.
Palomore.
Yeah, this is my favorite Paloma song since Fever, maybe even Walk Me Up all the way back in 2020. I love this. I think vocals are fantastic. The breakdown is sick, as Derek was kind of hinting at. Just across the board, this is everything that I love about Paloma and have loved in some of my favorite songs of theirs from past years. The 2 songs they put out last year didn't connect with me as much, but this is right back on track with what I've come to expect from them, and yeah, I've spent a ton of time with it this month.
Yeah, I think we're opposite in how we think, because I think this is like good. Like Paloma does not do bad music, similar to Colorblind, but I think this is very mid as far as their discog goes.
I agree.
Like, I'm looking at their discog right now, and my top songs from them are Bad, Nightmare, Quicksand, 2 a.m. definitely.
There you go.
Yeah, 2 a.m. is really good. I'm looking at it. I think that's probably my favorite. And again, it's not like this is bad or anything, and this is probably just weaker than those songs, in my opinion, just because those stick longer to me. But again, Paloma does not do bad music, so like I totally can see where you're coming from with this being your favorite, since the last couple things.
I don't got too much more to say about it. I just really enjoyed this song. We good to move on?
Yep.
Advents have dropped brand new single Liminal and have also signed to In Vogue Records. This is their first single release since their EP that dropped back in January, Chroma, and Advents are continuing their hot streak as far as I'm concerned. This is a fantastic song. I feel like Advents, I kind of have come to think of them as more of a metalcore band, but this one definitely leans into that post-hardcore style of primarily cleans with mostly just uncleans in the breakdown. But my god, his clean vocals in the chorus are fantastic. The delivery on Lucid Dreams Won't Set Me Free, Let Me Leave or Let Me Be is phenomenal. And I also just love the instrumentation on this as well. Like the atmosphere and the space that you get in the first verse that builds into the first chorus, I think is great. And and then you get to the build up into the breakdown, and you eventually just let it all out in the call out. Your attacks are a tactic before it just lets out. You get a blah, and it's Advents are slowly becoming one of my favorite up and coming metalcore bands, and I have to assume that this is leading up to a debut album now that they've signed to In Vogue, and I'm very excited. Presumably this comes out next year. I'd be surprised if it comes out this year. I'm very excited. They've quickly become one of my favorite, as I said, up and coming metalcore bands, even though this is more of a post-hardcore song. Any other thoughts, or
Not for me.
Time to take some medicine, Jake.
Yup. Honey Revenge have released the extended edition of Retrovision with one new single, Medicine.
Been doing okay when it don't go my way, compromising. I'm surviving. A quick
This also came with 2 reimagined versions of songs from the album. I'm not going to talk about those. Medicine, as far as I'm concerned, is a song about how Devin feels that she wishes she could bottle up positive emotions and kind of like take doses of the happiness when you're feeling down. Because obviously, like, especially as a touring band, and especially for Honey Revenge, a band that has really come into their own over the past years. They released their debut single less than 3 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. Or over 3 years ago, roughly 3 years ago, whatever the math turned out to be. And they have absolutely exploded in popularity since then, and I'm sure that comes with a lot of excitement and joy and happy moments, but also a lot of stress. So I can imagine how going through such a drastic rise can affect someone like this, and I feel like Medicine's just a fantastic song to kind of bottle up those feelings, so to say, and to remember all of the good times amongst the chaos of the music industry, so to say. I want to say that this is a very personal song for Devin and Donnie in the band, and I also feel like there's a lot of people that can relate to it. Me personally, I have not been as depressed or as anxious as in years past, so the message and theme around this song is not something I'm personally relating to as much at this time, but I still think it's a really fun Honey Revenge song, so.
They can just do no wrong at this point. I feel like they're incapable of making a bad song.
Yeah, I checked their monthly listeners. Last I checked, they were like 300,000 monthly listeners. What the fuck happened to get them to 673,000 monthly listeners?
They're
When the
at
fuck did that happen?
600,000? Dude, the last I saw was
670.
500,000. That's crazy.
Because I had them in my album the year last year. Everybody was listening.
Your impact is widespread.
I know.
Yeah. Honestly, I want to say that I think the Summer School Tour did numbers for them. Because, like, I'm looking at, we'll talk about Stand Atlantic later, but they broke 1 million monthly listeners, which I feel like is,
Jeez.
they weren't over 1 million the last time that Fear came out in 2022. I know the home team has been on a big climb, Magnolia Park. I feel like Honey Revenge have definitely been on the rise with everyone else that was on that tour, which is really awesome to see.
Is it my turn?
Yep.
STARSET have released new single Toxic.
religion and made up a new one when no one can question it all if it's ever your fault. Hey, what's that called? I can't recall. Oh yeah, you're in a cult.
The anti-TikTok song.
It's certainly a song that released this year. That's
You
for
know,
sure.
That's what I thought as I was going. I was like, this song is kind of generic. But then we get to that freaking bridge. And it's like,
It's so cool.
I know. Like,
It's so cool.
I had the same reaction to that bridge as I did when I first heard Ascensionism by Sleep Token. Like,
Really?
absolutely mind blown. Yes.
Wow. Hey, more power to you.
And that is why I said that I think STARSET is on the same level as Sleep Token. Maybe not quite as high, but up in that realm. Yeah, that I absolutely love the bridge in this song. It took me for a loop, and I love when music does that. and the freaking line of the dummies keep doubling, it's reaching hypocritical mass is too funny.
That is a good line.
Random, it's clever as fuck.
I don't know. Something about these last two singles are not connecting with me.
Oh
as
yeah,
much as
I absolutely love it. They're so mad, and it's great.
Well, and so also I look back to their last album.
I mean, this is like de-evolution the album.
Horizons was the last album. And I'm looking at like their last couple of singles from that, which is like Leaving This World Behind, Earthrise, and all of those have like an impact for me personally that the last couple of singles just have not hit like even a bar of.
Man.
And
on the contrary, I've really enjoyed these last two.
I was about to say, like, to me, it unfortunately sounds a little bit too much into the scene, and I know that's the play. That's what they're going for, as like a not a portmanteau, but you get what I mean. Like to go and, you know, I don't know what I was saying. I just don't like something about these last two singles. It's not fiction anymore. Is maybe what you
right. It's not like, yeah, I get it.
There's a sense of realism and not escapism.
Right.
I guess in my head, it's like, how much do you joke about what you're getting into before you finally become what you were joking about is kind of where I'm at.
I think these three singles are all very different for STARSET, which is great. I love the experimentation, but lyrically very similar to De-Evolution. That's why I said this is like so far De-Evolution, the album. And I'm really excited that we're getting a lot more experimentation from these guys. And these guys were already good, but I just love to see different, especially like genre blending like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know, whatever they're doing in these last two, I'd say this might even be my favorite of the three singles they've dropped this year, honestly.
I wouldn't say that, but I would say this is my least favorite, but I still the bridges, yeah. I love the experimentation.
At the very least, like Degenerate and Toxic, I've really enjoyed both of these, and this is probably the most excited I've been about STARSET since the 2019 album. And the singles leading up to that.
Justin.
Derek, you haven't introduced the song yet in a while. Why don't you introduce this next one?
Sure. Magnolia Park are back with their newest single, The Void.
No one's gonna save me now, 'cause I'm falling in a void. Every day I'm breaking down, 'cause I'm feeling paranoid.
Magnolia Park are on a tear. They used to be like good, but now they're really good.
We didn't talk about it, but what was it? Shallow?
Mm-hmm.
Shallow has been like in my constant repeat since you reposted it in the Discord. And that coupled with the Eye to Eye cover that they did for the upcoming Disney album, like Magnolia Park have within the last couple of months kind of like resurged in my my line of sight for bands I'm listening to. I need to go back and listen to their actual like full discog. I've only listened to the last couple of singles that have dropped, and I've really, really enjoyed them.
I'm right there with you. I've really enjoyed these past couple of singles they've dropped in recent months, and I'm hoping this is leading up to an album. Because if so, very good album incoming.
Yeah, I haven't looked to see if it's related to anything, but this, The Void and Shallow, both of them combined would just be so good on an album. I really liked the chorus in this, where it's got like a very poppy-esque rock style to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Josh's vocals sound huge.
It's so clean.
They sound really big and powerful.
Good on them. They deserve. This is like my first year I'm getting into them. They deserve like all of the praise that they get.
Takes us to our next single of the month. We have Gore, who released their first song since the beginning of this year. New song, Babylon. This band is the future. Derek, are you with me?
I'm halfway on. I'm on the train, but half my body's hanging out of the train car.
Okay, so you're not fully convinced yet.
That doesn't sound safe.
Does anybody else like to play the game when they're listening to the playlist where they have they just play the songs, not looking at who added them, and try and guess who?
Yep. This is definitely a Jake ad.
Yeah.
Before I put you on your pedestal real quick or give you your soapbox, I think the chorus melody was really good, but I didn't get convinced by, what was it, from, where are they going from Babylon? Why am I forgetting now? I listened to this like 3 times.
Bethlehem.
Bethlehem, yeah.
Babylon.
Like I'm not engaged enough in the content of the song to like be immersed enough to have that line click with me. And when it's into something as prevalent as the chorus, I'm like, that's the iffy part. Everything else about this is fantastic. I enjoyed it.
Street is Bible.
I do.
With all that being said, this is one of my favorite songs of the month. I feel like I've said that about a lot of songs this month, but truly the first time I heard the song, I was like, holy shit. The way the song opens up with that guitar riff and then the slow vocal delivery before she starts screaming in the second half of the verse, and then the chorus sounds absolutely huge as well. The "Dear God, kill me" before the breakdown is disgusting, and it comes out in just desperation, and just I love it. And then in the final chorus as well, you get an increased tempo on the drums as well, or just like a change tempo that I really enjoyed. Vocally, sonically, everything for this song is working for me. I'm not I don't really know all of the Bible, Bethlehem to Babylon, whatever references that the song's about, but when I listen to this song, I am actively having a really good time. Very excited to see what Gore has dropping in the near future. Because I believe they also just signed to Spine Farm, so theoretically, EP or something, album potentially soon. Or in the near future.
I can't believe I added this one, honestly. But Sunsleep are back with new single, Animal.
This is a banger. I fuck with
oh yeah, it's a banger.
You said it reminded you of Nothing But Thieves, right?
Yes, the switch the switch up in the I don't even know where it is. Is it the bridge? I guess
yeah, kind of towards the end of the song.
Do you know where the switch up? Wherever the switch up is, it's the transition from like the beginning to the second half of the song sounds like Nothing But Thieves.
It does, and I know Devin's a really big fan of Nothing But Thieves, so that checks out.
Like I said during the STARSET review, I really like the experimentation we're getting here. Yeah, this might be my favorite Sunsleep song.
That's high
really?
praise.
That's high praise. Yeah, I wouldn't have been. I don't know about that. It's up there though for sure.
It's so good.
That is one thing that I really appreciate about Sunsleep and Devin in particular. I guess Sunsleep is just Devin, but that he's not afraid to experiment and like go in different directions. And I feel like every time he does, he manages to make it work. It's really damn impressive.
I don't like how quiet Justin is being.
Yeah, wait, Justin, what did you think about this, bro?
The Sunsleep man.
I need more time on this. Somewhere with Deadweight.
That's fair.
I think the Moonlight Euphoria is so heavily encased in my skull with how good it is and how it sounds that the last 2 singles with them experimenting, they haven't really struck the same chord for me because I keep going back and my anytime I listen to Animal, I'm like, but I could be listening to Stolen Crown and Medication and Moonlight Euphoria. And my goldfish attention span decides to go back to listen to them besides finishing the song that he was listening to. And that's nothing against Sunsleeper Devin at all. It's just my own stupid brain. I just need more time with this, and probably with them being connected to like maybe an EP or something of that nature. Maybe I'll, take the plunge and get involved in this. But it sounds good. It's just I need more time with it.
As I said with Boston Manor at the start of this, Sunsweeper, another one of those bands that I feel like I will enjoy more if I just wait for a full album or EP. So I've not heard this yet. I'm going to wait until a number of songs release that I can listen to all at once, and hopefully that will increase my enjoyment for them more.
Man, you're missing out. I didn't say that for Boston Manor, but I'm going to say it here, you're missing out.
It's true.
All right. And a new band for the podcast. It is Flesh Cold, dropping their single, Antinomic.
Could I be so blind? This love was not meant to be
Where are they from, Justin?
They're from Poland.
Check
Is that a new one for us?
I think that's a new one. I think that's new.
I think for Christmas this year, I'm giving myself a map and just going to start putting push pins on where exactly.
I was going to say, we need one of those black and white ones from like grade school, and you can start coloring them in every time we get
band logo.
Yep.
Yeah. Dude, this fucks.
Yeah, this is really good.
A little bit of background and how I found this band. The vocalist, his name is Victor, however you say it it's a Polish name. He does a lot of TikTok covers and got big for doing a lot of Bad Omens and Bring Me covers and whatnot. And also the weird Plankton AI covers. Like he covers them before the song's even out, and it's kind of good. His voice is great. But he's also a producer. He does a lot of his own mixing and mastering, and he mixed this song.
No, it explains why it sounds so good.
Yeah, and I think he is the new vocalist of this band. This band dropped another single, like a previous single back in 2018. I didn't go back and listen to it to see, or an EP in 2018. I didn't go back and listen to it to see how close it is, to see if it is the same guy. But I'm really, really liking how this sounds. The layering to his vocals in the chorus and the delivery for each of the lyrics, it's just masterfully done that you don't really get out of like a new band. But bands like this that have just been doing the work for quite a while, that just know the craft and can almost pull it off flawlessly. It's really, really cool to see, and like why I like introducing new bands to the podcast and whatnot, because you don't get a lot of this on like radio scene and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not every day that you come across a band with 437 monthly listeners that sounds this good.
Smile.
Real.
Guilty
indeed.
All right, I got another one for you guys. We got CANTERVICE dropping their new single, Enemy at the Gates, off of an upcoming album. Finally, the Cowards announced it.
They did it.
It's dropping September 27th, another fucking September album.
Standing by to watch the house of cards to falling down. Enemy at the gate, won't you let us in? We're the ones who decide how this shit will end. We can't be blind, bully, bargain, beta.
This is the heaviest they have gone.
This is really, and forgive me because I don't listen to this song much. Not this one, but the one I'm going to compare it to. Jake, I feel like this is really Dethrone-esque. Like the introduction, especially. I had to like double check because I listened to it when you tagged me, Justin, and then I listened to it again earlier to prep, and I had to make sure that it wasn't a Dethrone cover. In saying that, this is really well done. I quite enjoyed this. This is definitely in the upper parts of CANTERVICE songs. I feel like the upper echelon.
Yeah, this is like top 3 CANTERVICE song for me at this point, I think.
I'd agree.
I really enjoy this. This is the, dare I say, stereotypical pissed off angry metalcore song. I mean, it's not entirely pissed off, but mostly pissed off metalcore song that just, from the moment the song starts to the end, it's angry, it's screaming at you for the most part, and it just delivers the angry energy in a way that not all metalcore songs do. In the vein of a High Horse by Wage War, or Dethroned by Bad Omens, Hedonist by Bad Omens, that sort of niche of metalcore song, Enemy at the Gates falls into that niche for me and excels on it. I absolutely love the delivery in the chorus of, we're the ones who decide how the shit will end, we can't be bullied, bargain, beat, or reason with, so come to terms because you're not getting out of this. And then also in the verse after it, and when the situation's critical, will you dare to open your mouth? The album, I believe, is called 0 Hour.
It is 0 Hour.
And I feel like when the situation's critical, will you open your mouth, really ties into that 0 Hour theme really well. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of their songs kind of tie into that futuristic sci-fi kind of world that they've been building. But yeah, this song's fantastic. It's I don't know if this is maybe the best way to call it, but it's what's in my head right now. It's a metalcore rager.
So I'm looking at, sorry to cut you off, Jacob. I'm looking at the track list right now, and this follows a new song that hasn't been released yet, called Artificial Minds. And followed by this is Chasing the Sky, which, depending on how Artificial Minds sound, could be like an insane 3-track lineup.
Am I a little crazy for thinking this sounds too much like Dethroned?
No.
And there's the lyric that's like, standing by to watch the House of Cards. There's literally a song called House of Cards on that album.
Yeah, that's why I had to double check whether or not this was a cover or not when I listened to it. I mean, it is.
And also, Dethroned is like, the chorus is like, see me at the pearly gate or something.
Yeah.
Right. I think this really fits well in the concept, though, and the fact that this is only 2 minutes and has a differing structure where it's not like the simple like chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, breakdown, chorus. It's not difficult to get into. Apparently they're getting mixed results on this song, and I can kind of see why.
Yeah, this is pretty
with how different it is
they've released so far.
Yeah, but I don't care.
Yeah.
Good music is good music.
CANTERVICE fucks.
This is Dethroned, you fucks.
I'm super excited for the album next month.
Yeah.
All right, Derek, we got 2 more singles, one more on the playlist, another one that's dropping tomorrow that we can't add just yet, but we will when the playlist drops.
It'll be there.
It'll be there. Civilian have dropped their newest single, Lust Cope, featuring Chiarelli Taylor of Conquer Divide.
But it seems so out of reach. The courage escapes me.
This is a banger. Justin, you sent this, right? Or was this?
Yeah.
This is a Justin.
Yeah, so we've talked about Civilian before. I think we talked about when Tragedy dropped. This is off an upcoming album.
Good, because I liked the previous singles, and I really, really like this. I mean, this has everything, right? I loved the vibe that they established. I honestly love the way that, like, do you know the name of the vocalist?
I don't off the top of my head.
Okay, well, I like the way the vocalist had this kind of more melancholic delivery, and then the way that it contrasts with Chiarelli's more airy vocals. It meshed, but also like contrasted each other enough that it really made it so they complemented each other. And a Chiarelli feature is always going to be,
it's a stamp of approval.
Yeah, you can't
like,
go wrong.
Yeah.
And then there's a guitar solo.
Yeah.
Which is just,
such a beautiful guitar solo too. I don't feel like there's been a ton of great guitar solos this year.
No, Phineas, we need you. Please come back. I am so desperate for some more solos. Fuck. But no, every part about this just works so well together and builds on top of each other. It's really well done. If it weren't for the Traceless single, this would be my single of the month.
Yeah, it makes sense this dropped because I think Civilian are touring with Colorblind right now.
Oh, okay. Then yeah, it checks out.
But yeah, this was good. I need to go back and listen to the other two singles that dropped, Wrath and Avarice. But I think Civilian are pretty consistent with what they're doing. And I'm kind of interested to see how this album sounds. I think it's a next year album. They haven't even announced the title or dropped pre-orders for it yet, so we'll probably see it next year. We got one more single before we talk about a myriad of albums to get us into. Abyss Watching Me dropped their second single off of their upcoming album titled Soulless. The single is called Makes Sense.
Pain hidden well behind a smile, oh my, I wish I knew before.
Igor's
Abyss
vocals
Watching
are
Me
just phenomenal.
They are back. I didn't get into 24-25 when that dropped, but I think that was just like a prelude single. I don't think it's really much to go off of on that one. This one is basically just taking everything they learned from Nyx and dialing it up.
Yeah, this is phenomenal. The chorus felt a little weird to me at first listen, but the more I've listened to the song, I mean, I've only had like 2 days with it at this point, but it's a really cool chorus, and it's also like if you read the lyrics of the song, it's a really emotional song. Like it's a little hard to listen to almost with some of the lyrics. I'm pulling them up right now if you want to talk about the song more, Justin. I'll get back into it.
Yeah, it's like the verse is definitely a reference like suicide and whatnot. And I really enjoy the structure of it all. Where it's like starting out as like the younger when you're still a child, till almost like the talking about future, like past tense with the next verse of when you were still alive. That culminated with the ending of the song, where it's almost like a reflection of someone's life, with the chorus changing to go off of I'm sorry I can't turn back time, but I can make sure your sacrifice makes sense. Yeah. And that's when Igor's heavier vocals kick in, almost kind of like a Weather Eye kind of style to it all. I really enjoyed how that played. Kind of wish his uncleans were a little bit more prominent in the next couple singles that drop. But I think for this, like this subject
for this
matter,
song, this is the perfect example of a band that uses the unclean vocals as an accent to emphasize something.
Yeah.
Like you leave the uncleans out of the rest of the song, but when you are reaching that like desperation and grief of like processing suicide and loss, and you're just trying to make it make sense, and just belting out that harsh vocal and make sense is really powerful. When I feel like if there were harsh vocals somewhere else in the rest of the song, it would have diluted the power that final delivery would have had.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. That's why I was like, on future listens of this, the first listen I didn't really click into it. It took me a couple listens, but then I was like, yeah, this is exactly what this song needed. So
more so than any other song this month, I highly recommend watching the music video visualizer lyric video that they have for this, so you can read the lyrics along as the song, or at least like this is definitely a song that I really feel like you get more out of when you really deeply pay attention to the lyrics to it. It's a good song instrumentally, vocally, sonically, just as a whole, but lyrically it hits a lot harder when you're processing the lyrics in real time as they're being said. Opening this song with "When you were still a child, I wondered where did your scars come from and why you rarely ever mentioned home," to everything else we've kind of touched on, to at the end, as you were saying, Justin, I can make sure your sacrifice makes sense. It's just Really powerful song. Abyss Watching Me are just on. If they keep this up and the strength of Nyx, they're well on track to another top 10 album of the year contender.
A little bit more into the lyric structure of this. If you look at the choruses, it shifts from if only I could turn back time, I'd get to know you better. And then the second chorus is if only I could turn back time, I'd swear I'd treat you better.
Mm-hmm.
And then that last chorus of I'm sorry I can't turn back time. It's just masterfully done. I love when you can like notice those changes in the structures and just play into them. It's just so good. Igor is masterful. All right, we got about a dozen albums to get into, so let's
many, bro.
Kick right into it. Jake.
Starting off this month's album recaps, we have Inertia, who have dropped their debut album, Second Shadow.
I'm sorry, I don't know if the back heard that. Debut album, mind you.
This band is the future of Australian metalcore or Australian post-hardcore, whatever the fuck you want to classify it. Inertia is the future.
This is insane for a debut.
This is so fucking good. And I think what makes it even more impressive and what made this hit even more is the fact that they only released 3 singles. And 2 of those 3 singles, being Static and Too Far Gone, are, in my opinion, some of the weakest songs on this album. So when this album comes out and a majority of the best songs on the album are brand new, that feeling hits difference. There are very few albums with the recent trend of so many bands releasing singles. And yeah, I could just not listen to those singles, but I like the dopamine of new songs, so I continue to listen to the new singles that they drop single number 7 for an album and do not care. But Inertia did not give me that option, so they left so much of the best stuff for the album drop. Songs like In Rapture, songs like Dying to Let You Go, Second Shadow, The Seeds That You'll Never Sow. Absolutely phenomenal. And the way that it all comes together from front to back, it feels really cohesive and diverse and just across the board. Vocals, instrumentation, production, mix, everything is there. And it's a fucking debut album. It's unbelievably impressive.
I think the world needs to know how much of a masterpiece Leviathan is.
Yeah. I was waiting to mention it, but Leviathan is the best song on this album, and it might not be close.
Guys, Leviathan is my least favorite song on the album.
No!
What the fuck?
It's the only one I didn't save.
How?
Criminal.
I don't know, man. Now, granted, this album is so fucking good that I will need to go back to it over and over and over again.
Yeah,
at which point it may grow on me.
You are going to like Leviathan eventually.
I feel like
I cannot fathom Leviathan being your least favorite song on this album.
I can accept it given the rest of the songs. I'm just shocked that the Inertia Thornhill special didn't get you on first listen.
I'm not a Thornhill fan. Let's be clear. I don't like Thornhill. That's Jacob.
That makes sense.
What?
Don't you? Let me put it this way. He likes Thornhill more than the rest of us.
As far as I know, I like some songs from the Dark Pool just because I've seen them.
And
live
that is more than we like Thornhill.
All that to say, yeah, Leviathan is fucking good. Like, it's such a good blend of Inertia's primary vocals, with Thornhill, Jacob's vocals. It's just
that's me.
So clean, and that's just to highlight most of this album. Like, for a debut single, we didn't even talk about Memoria when that dropped. We only talked about it in our award show. This, like, we're getting like true impressions on it as it's relevant. And looking at this track list, I'm looking at Leviathan, Dying to Let You Go, Static, Replicant, Second Shadow. Seeds
Way
that
to
you
skip
never
over in
sowed.
Rapture.
I sure did.
Wow.
And just all these other songs are just
Yeah, like in
phenomenal.
Rapture?
I skipped over in Rapture because I was getting to it, Jake. Ya bitch.
Damn.
Bitch.
Hit his ass.
In Rapture is probably, I would say my top 3 on the album.
Oh, that's not what I was expecting. Let's fucking go. Good job, Justin.
Thank you.
I thought you were about to say in Rapture is like your least favorite song on the album.
No, my least favorite is still Dominion by far. But Dying to Let You Go, I think kind of put me a little bit at ease to Dominion a little bit. It kind of got me into the grasp of the song and the structure there.
They're heavier sound.
Yeah. Like songs like Seeds That You Never Sow and Rapture, I think are sold better because of the first couple of songs on this album for me.
Well, we're kind of on the topic of Dying to Let You Go. The fucking breakdown a minute and 30 seconds into this song is fucking disgusting. One of my favorite breakdowns I've heard all year. Just the delivery on Dying to Let You Go and just the slow build up into it with the like drums going back and forth in each ear. Just fucking phenomenal. And then the guitar tone and everything about that breakdown has blown me away. It is a rare moment of a song that I don't like repeat front to back. It is a rare song that I will purposefully skip to the 1 minute and 20 second mark just so I can hear the breakdown over and over again. There are very few songs that have a moment that is so good that I will go to a timestamp just to listen to that specific moment again. Dying to Let You Go has been one of the few songs this year where it has left that much of an impact on me that I have just skipped a part of the song because it is that good. Just incredible work on that. And then Dominion, I know you said it was your least favorite song on this album, Justin. I still absolutely fucking love Dominion. In the same way of Enemy at the Gates by CANTERVICE, Dominion's just another one of those short and quick, pissed off metalcore songs. I absolutely love the delivery in the chorus of systematic suffering is part of the game, symptomatic everyone's got something today. I wish you could feel the way I do. Just absolutely phenomenal, and the instrumentation is fantastic there as well. Followed up by In Rapture, which has an incredible guitar riff to open up the song, catchy as hell chorus. It's just, and honestly, like I could be saying this stuff about just about every song on this album. Second Shadow reminds me of Wishful Thinking by Bless the Fall with the kind of distorted breakdown. It's like a loose comparison, but it was something that I definitely noted. And then also the chorus on Second Shadow as well. The take what you want from me. It's giving you everything. It's never enough is just super catchy as well. And then you get the back half of the album, Seeds You Never Sow, Decompose, Too Far Gone, Lament. Lament has like a slow build, is a fantastic way to end the album. Counterfeit, we haven't even touched on that as the opener, has a slow build that has a fantastic drop towards the later half of the song, and then it smoothly transitions into Leviathan as well. It's just like, I struggle to find flaws with this album. This is my favorite album of the month, and it's not particularly close.
That's a valid take. Actually, wait, it's not close. Hold on.
It's not close.
Oh.
Damn. What about these last 3? What are you talking about? Those are like all quintessential Jake bands.
Quintessential indeed. We got to it.
Chris Crummett, thank you for your service. God, this album is so fucking good. I think
Chris Crummett special.
Am I allowed to hold on? Let me go look at my albums of the year to make sure I'm not tripping. I think this is the best metalcore album of the year.
Everybody get your notepads out.
Yeah, I would say this is the best metalcore album of the year.
Nope. Write that down. Write that down.
Yeah,
this
awesome.
is one of the best metalcore albums of the year for sure.
It's one for there only being like 2 or 3 songs that directly transition into one another. I was very surprised by how cohesive this album felt in spite of that. Like all the songs had a very similar idea to them, but they were executed just differently enough that I was engaged the whole time. That's rare for a metalcore album nowadays. And maybe that's just me being disenfranchised with a lot of the state of current metalcore, but this is done to the nines.
It also feels like no song really steps over each other, if that makes sense. Where like every song feels distinct. Like there's only one Dominion on this album. There isn't another short and quick pissed off metalcore song on here. There isn't another song that has like a slow build into a huge drop like Counterfeit. And even like some of the more generic songs on here, like an Enrapture or a Second Shadow or Dying to Let You Go, they all have distinct moments that separate themselves and distinguish themselves from metalcore.
Yeah, this is beautifully done. Shout out Inertia. Again, as mentioned before, debut album. If you're sleeping, hop on the Inertia train.
Yeah, Inertia, like, I will be astonished if Inertia are not, like, one of the next bands to blow up out of Australia. Absolutely. This album is too good to not go absolutely huge. And I mean, I think they've already kind of started. They were supporting Dayseeker on their Australian tour recently, and I'm sure that brought in some numbers for them. And getting the Jacob Charlton feature on Leviathan, getting some of Thornhill's audience over, I feel like Inertia are absolutely on a very fast upward trajectory.
Absolutely. They have all of the kind of pop and R&B aspects to them, but they also have the technicalness of bands like Invent Anime or An Era. Yeah, there's just way too much to love here for them not to blow up. I will be so shocked.
Yeah, I'm really curious. It's not a matter if, it's just like when we're going to start seeing them overseas.
God,
yeah, honestly, that's a really good way to say it. Inertia, it's like, it feels inevitable that they're the future. It's not when, it's not if, it's when.
I need them to get a different label so I don't have to pay $20 for vinyl shipping. Unfortunately, I don't know if I'm going to
That's just the average life of a Canadian.
All right, well, I'm not used to injustices, okay? Justin Trudeau's not my guy. These are not things that I normally have to deal with.
I have a solution. I have a proposal.
He's much better than our current options.
I have a proposal. Next Hivemind meetup in Australia, so you can just buy it in person.
Facts. I'm gonna
die.
Jake, that sounds like a perfect idea. You should buy our tickets.
I don't have that kind of money. Sorry.
We're gonna boat. Yo, Hivemind sailing trip.
Wait, yeah, let's just sail across the Pacific.
We can't do that. Then we'll do our mixtape, and it'll just be all Derek's songs again.
Oh no.
Anyway, Inertia album fucks. Shall we move on?
Do it.
Go for it.
Siamese have dropped their brand new album. Speaking of the Pacific, yeah. The Shape of Water is a song off of Siamese's newest album, Elements.
Nowhere near the sky. Who am I? You decide.
Now,
and Hurricane.
To set the scene, Hurricane, true. Home, their 2021 album, was a top 10 album of the year for both Justin and myself. And if I remember correctly, Derek and Jacob, you all enjoyed it, but not as much.
It was okay.
Yeah, it was alright.
It's a good song.
We have not talked about Siamese since they dropped On Fire as a single last year. And in large part, that's due to them dropping the 1-2 punch of Vertigo into Through My Head as the third and fourth singles, being the two weakest songs on this album, and completely killing, as far as I'm concerned, any hyper momentum that I had for this album. The Shape of Water is good. On Fire is still my favorite song on here. Vertigo and Through My Head are both just so painfully average that even for a band that released one of my top 10 favorite albums of 2021, it was not enough to keep me excited for this album. Even with dropping 3 more singles after that, 7 out of 10 songs on here were singles. Even with dropping Predator, Chemistry, and Hurricane, which in my opinion are all really solid songs, my excitement going into this album was just not there. And ultimately, for as much as I can listen to Predator and be like, wow, this song is really good and a lot better than I think it is, I don't think there's any amount, like, I feel like the damage has already been done, that my excitement for this album, like, the reputation has already been tarnished, and it's going to take a lot more than what this album is offering to fully recover it. For as cool as the electronics in Predator are, for as cool as the delivery in the first verse of Hurricane and I don't know how to describe it, the sonic instrumentation in that first verse is so fucking cool. For as huge as On Fire sounds, for as incredible as the cover of God is a Woman is, I still come out of this album thinking it's just an okay album. But on an individual level, it's like the sum where it's the opposite of The Death of Peace of Mind, where like you listen to all the individual songs, they're great, but you put them together and they're even better. You listen to a lot of the songs on here, and for the most part, they're really good, but you put them all together and they're somehow just not as good when you put them all together. Like, but then I'm kind of contradicting myself because I'm saying that like as singles, I didn't really care for that. I don't know. This album's not hitting is the point I'm trying to make. Like, there's some good songs on here, but as an album, it's not hitting. Especially not in the same way as Home did, with so many fantastic singles like Can't Force the Love and Holy and the one that featured Rory and Sloboda, the closer.
The tone of that album seemed much more like genuine as opposed to this, where it's just like we end with "This is not a song," and it's just like, all right, this just feels like we're doing it for views or for, I don't know. It lost like its character to me. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, that transitions into what I was gonna say. Is like, to me, Home feels more genuine and structured and very, very much more intricate in how it's designed. Not just like lyrically, but sonically. Whereas Elements feels so much more artificial to me. And that's not just because of like the electronics being a more prevalent sound in a lot of the songs off of Elements. I go back and nothing compares to the day I listened and watched the music video for Can't Force the Love, and just the craftsmanship on that song alone has not been topped by Siamese since that has dropped, for me personally. You get a perfect blend of violin, acoustic instrumentation, very, very much catchy chorus, and almost like an anthemic style to it that just rhythmically builds up. And none of that is prevalent in Elements. There are some decent songs here. Predator, On Fire. I liked God as a Woman until I learned it was a cover. Then I stopped listening to it. Because again, it felt artificial to me and just felt like it was there to play off mainstream and didn't feel like a genuine song to me. Everything else just kind of fell by the wayside to me, like similar to how Jake put it. Vertigo and Chemistry did nothing for me. I still like The Shape of Water, but with it being an opener, I already knew what I was getting into. So
I feel like The Shape of Water is a solid opener.
Well, I've listened to it like umpteen amount of times before the album dropped. So when the album started, I was like, okay, I've already listened to this a dozen times. Let's get to the new, and the new wasn't until like what fucking for me it was Predator, because I think I only listened to that once. But I don't know, like Siamese really dropped the ball on this album for me, and it's not like it's.
Sorry to interrupt. I gotta ask, why are we putting a cover in the middle of an album?
Why are we putting a cover on the album in general, not like a bonus track?
Yeah.
I mean, they did that with their last album too.
Did they really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Was it Yoga?
Yeah.
Or Yaga?
I think so, anyway. I'm fairly sure.
Yeah, but that was in a different language, though, wasn't it?
I don't know. It was the least memorable
I
song
skipped
on
that one.
album.
Yeah, so I go back to it.
But I'm fairly certain I read somewhere that was a cover, so I feel like Siamese just likes putting a cover in all of their albums at some point.
I remember when Vice and Men did it. I can't. What's the album name? On Defy.
Echo.
They got like crucified.
Yeah, the Money cover or whatever.
Yeah.
You really got to make it work. They did redeem themselves on Echo.
They did. And Earth and Sky was even a step up from Defy.
True.
Now that you mention it, I'm looking at their songs, and Superhuman had wasn't really a cover, but it had Bananas had some play into like the mainstream with like the BNA and AS included like soundbite into it. I wonder if that's like a thing they've been doing for a while. I tried to look to see if Shameless had a cover, but nothing stuck out with me on first glance, so I'd have to go back into it. But yeah, I don't know. I really hope with the next album, Siamese lean more into that acoustic sound, and really kind of bring a bit more emotion and presence into their next project. Because I don't know, like I can guarantee you guys this is not in my top 10, and it really sucks to say.
Yeah, it won't be in mine.
Siamese felt like a guaranteed top 10 for me, and I'm looking at my potential candidates starting to dwindle.
I know we have been very negative the past couple of minutes, but I do want to reiterate that this album does have its strengths. It's just that I feel like the general consensus is that we know Siamese can do more. They can do better. And for as good as this album is, we were let down, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, go back to our home discussion. Like, we were very passionate about that album when it came out. At least Jake and I were. And for what it's worth, like we're fans of the band, but we got a critique where business is more prevalent than the song itself, and that's just what it feels like to me.
I feel like there's probably a lot that we're never gonna know about this album and why it turned out the way that it did, but yeah, ultimately, like, as it stands right now, I'm not resonating with this album nearly as much as I was Home, which is unfortunate. So that's kind of where I'm gonna leave it. So I can't imagine there's too much more to say, so let's get even more controversial.
We're here to talk about the music, nothing else. Falling in Reverse have released Popular Monster.
Follow me into the chaos engine. It's time to stand, it's time to fight. Don't be afraid to twist the knife. Your sacrifice to break the curse. Prepare to die, prepare to burn. Abandon hope.
Credit where credit is due. There are some good songs on here.
I didn't really.
There are not
where
I
can't find them.
But there are some good songs on here.
I enjoyed this album. Yeah, there are a lot of the singles that were, I guess, the ones that were released this year. I didn't really pay much attention to until this was released. Can't think of which ones they were. It was Ronald and
All My Life dropped.
Yeah. So I didn't really give them any time of day, but when I first listened to the album, I was like, God, I hate All My Life. This is fucking country ass shit. And it grew on me a lot.
Yeah, All My Life's one of the better songs on here.
I agree. I really like Jelly Roll's part. I'd never listened to Jelly Roll, but I think it is very fun. And Prequel is literally like an NF song with like a breakdown, which is interesting. You get the Escape the Fate line in there, which was
typical, to be expected almost.
I wouldn't say to be expected, but it was good. Popular Monster, of course.
Best song on the album.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I don't really have anything to say about Ronald.
Worst song of the year.
Absolute ass.
Fucking embarrassment to the genre.
I don't think it. See, I don't hate it, but I don't love it either. It's just like it's there.
Dog shit. Sorry, but it's fucking bad. It's horribly composed.
Ronald would be better without Ronald Radke in it.
This song would be better if it didn't exist.
I mean, yeah,
seriously,
I will give some. I feel like Tech Nine's part isn't awful.
Ugh. It's not even bad by virtue of like the genre. It's just the worst Tech Nine feature I've heard in like ever. It's not even like look.
we all know how I feel about Ronnie Radke. How I feel about him aside, the dude has an ear for melody. Like Popular Monster, Voices in My Head, Watch the World Burn, Zombify, like all the singles, damn catchy. But this doesn't have any of that. It's not catchy. It's not. It's just shock value, but done in like the most.
It's shock value done for the sake of shock value, and once the shock value wears off, what is there?
Yeah, it's like I watched a really bad budget horror movie that just tried a bunch of really shitty special effects and left me like.
I feel like that's like every horror movie, though.
Well,
typical of the horror genre.
No, I guess that's my biggest thing. Is I feel like this album, it just has nothing to say other than the world is shit, but my view of it is really good, and the haters are trying to cancel me. Which, like, whatever, man. But if you're gonna name a song like Trigger Warning and follow it up with a song about how everybody's zombified except you because you know what's going on and your worldview is correct, it's just ego on ego on ego. And then he puts himself as the cover. Like, come on. Like, his fucking
mugshot. I hate it
so bad that it
Popular Monster
wraps
the
around
song.
to being good.
Popular Monster the song came out in 2019, and you're telling me in the course of 5 years, the best you could come up with was a mugshot. This album has had so much hype building up for years, and you're gonna make it the mugshot.
Also,
Okay.
the fact
You know
that
what?
the title
Fair
track
enough.
has been out for 5 years and it's still on the album to like feed into the streams and get like
Bro,
make the song more popular.
You have to remember, though. This guy was from Escape the Fate. They put the same song on an album twice.
True.
I forgot they did that.
He was too busy arguing on Twitter to write new music. So he's like, fuck, what do I put on the album?
Here we go. God. As much as there are moments on here that I feel like are really catchy, honestly, I'm being so for real. I still like Watch the World Burn. Like,
Watch the
some of
World Burn has
lyrics
grown on
I
me.
have, but it's really good.
It has the best breakdown on this album, and one of the best
Agreed.
breakdowns I've heard all year. Like, it was in contention for best breakdown of last year when it came out.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't know. Just
Honestly, I don't really mind any of the songs on here until we get to No Fear, and then it's just like, eh. And the
Can we
last
talk about how fucking dog shit the reimagined version of Last Resort
No,
is?
actually, I didn't see.
I thought it
I
was
don't
okay.
I don't like reimagines, and I thought it was okay. I don't think it deserves to be on the album, but I
Yeah.
thought it was okay. I thought it was an interesting take on it. It was my first time listening to it, actually, when I heard this.
Okay.
It's been out for a while, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I didn't listen to it when it first
since
came
last
out.
year,
This
maybe?
was the first time I heard it.
I don't know why it's here, but honestly, it being on the album got me to listen to it. So
Yeah, same.
If you're there, why not? As well.
Yeah, it was okay. I think All My Life is the biggest surprise for me with this. I also like Prequel. Like when I first heard it, I was like, oh yeah, this is just an NF song, but it's a little more than that, and he puts his own spin on it. The songs I have saved that I didn't have saved before were Prequel and All My Life.
I didn't save any of the new songs. Bad Guy, Prequel, Trigger Warning, No Fear. None of them did anything for me. I want to pull out a lyric from Trigger Warning real quick because it.
Do we want to?
I mean, not really, but the whole "we're the land of the free, we're the home of the brave, freedom of speech." That's what they say. 1, we're taking a stand. 2, we're making demands. 3, we're protecting the children. 4, we got blood on our hands. And then you follow it up with "you pledge your allegiance into the unknown." It's just.
It's so fucking bad.
If I was in the rabbit hole that is this sort of perspective on life, I think I would enjoy it a lot more. But as someone that doesn't agree with that view of the world in most ways. It just takes me out of the experience of the song. And I can kind of say that too for Bad Guy and No Fear, but really Trigger Warning is what takes me out of the song the most.
I have an adjective descriptor that I would like to use for Bad Guy.
Mm-hmm.
It's pathetic. It is pathetic.
Isn't that his girlfriend?
I have no idea. I don't care enough about the guy to know. I'm surprised he has a girlfriend. Wouldn't think.
I'm not surprised.
Anyway, well, yeah.
Money.
Yeah.
See,
yo, we're talking about the Mice and Men cover, Money.
Yeah. Coming back. I think the thing about it is that like it's all everything, all the songs talking about himself besides Bad Guy are just like him stroking his ego, and then Bad Guy is him sitting there like, guys, like I know I'm offending you, but can you stop being mean? Like, I've got all these things wrong with me too. Like, I'm an addict, I'm a loner, I'm like you, don't you see? Like, no, fuck you. Like, if I said what I wanted to say about this song, we'd get demonetized and banned, so I won't. But I don't know. I think that this is the worst.
I wanted to highlight
album of the year.
the piano solo. No, it's not the worst album of the year. There's worse.
This is worse than Tortured Poets Department, and that's saying something.
The piano solo in Trigger Warning, epic.
Instrumentally, this album is pretty good. I can't even lie.
Yeah.
It's you take the lyrics
as I
of
said,
the album and it's a lot better.
With the breakdown and Watch the World Burn, that shit rips. Zombified, the riffs and that also are incredible. Popular Monster as well, the like hip hop trap influences in that song and the verses are as fantastic as they've always been. Like, for as much shit as Ronnie Radke gets, he is a very talented musician.
Oh, absolutely. He needs a ghostwriter. If Ronnie Radke got a ghostwriter, he could hit the biggest redemption arc of like forever.
He needs a ghostwriter and like marshmallow or
Ayahuasca.
dead mouses.
Oh.
Dead mouses like mass.
We'll send
He
him
needs
like
something to
rice
put on
gum or
over that
something.
much.
Rice gum? Why the fuck are we sending him rice gum?
Wasn't there some shit about him having a ghostwriter? I don't know.
I don't know, dude.
It's like 20.
Ronnie Radke,
2019
well,
or something.
I'd say
Falling in
send him
Reverse
Drake,
needs a
but-
ghostwriter and a BetterHelp sponsorship.
Yeah. Use code Popular Monster for 10% off your first month.
This is not legally true.
Yeah, this is not a BetterHelp partnership.
For legal reasons, we
They're
are
gonna sue
being
us for
comedy right now.
defamation. You might have to take that out.
Jake, why don't you take us to our next one?
Let's yeah.
Some would say that we were a little toxic.
Like the STARSET
Up next,
song?
yes, actually, but in a different spelling. We are heading back down under for these next two albums. Yours truly have dropped their sophomore album, Toxic. And following up two fantastic singles to start off this year, Call My Name and Sour. This was one of my most anticipated albums for August and for the rest of the year once it got announced back in May. Full album is here, and unfortunately, I'm a little let down.
Really?
I am a little let down. Following the release of their 2022 EP, Is This What I Look Like? One of my favorite EPs of that year. Fantastic songs on there. I still love Hallucinate. Careless Kind has continued to grow to be one of my favorite Yours Truly songs. Walk Over My Grave is fantastic. This album had such a strong lead up, and in a similar way to Siamese, California Sober came out in June and kind of killed the momentum that they were building. I think California Sober is probably my least favorite song on this album, and for as good as Call My Name and Sour are, by the time that Toxic came around this month, I still hadn't really gotten over California Sober, and I feel like I've let it affect me more than it should. Because other than that song, there's a lot to like here. But this album isn't the slam dunk top 10 album of the year that Sour and Call My Name had me believing it would be. So I think I need more time to adjust my expectations from reality to process this album in a bubble for what it is as a whole and not my feelings going into it. Because there's a lot to like here. Back to You is a fantastic opener, and there's a lot of other fantastic songs on the back half of the album as well. The 1-2 punch of Bloodshot Eyes into Sinking, I think, is fantastic. The Bloom feature to do the layered vocals in the chorus of that song, absolutely phenomenal, and probably the biggest grower on this album for me. It's a song that I was not that big on, but the more I go back to it, the more I'm like blown away by it almost. Probably my favorite non-single on the album at this point. Bloodshot Eyes is also really good. All That I'm Not is a fantastic sort of slower interlude, emotional song to put halfway through the album. Love Feels Like as an interlude doesn't really do a ton for me, but I think it makes sense to go from All That I'm Not into Bloodshot Eyes. It feels like a nice sort of interlude track, and it works. Just not a super like resonant interlude where I think of other interludes that have done a lot more in the vein of like a What It Cost into Like a Villain sort of thing. Love Feels Like is not that sort of interlude, but there's a lot to like on this album, and Sour and Call My Name are still absolutely fantastic. Sour is still one of my favorite songs of this year period at this point. I've had it on repeat for months. I'm still listening to it. I honestly think I overplayed it a little bit back in May and June, heading into the summer, and I've kind of cooled off on it a little bit, but it's an absolutely fantastic song. Overall, like, there's a lot to like here. I feel like Yours Truly have a bit more edge to their pop punk sound than they've had in the past, and I think that's evident across lyrics and the instrumentation getting a little darker and heavier. And while I don't love everything on here, it's not the slam dunk that the lead singles had me thinking. This is still a really strong album. Now, Derek, what are your thoughts?
I was really surprised by this. I wasn't feeling this leading up to it, based off of the singles that had released. And I listened to it once, and I thought that it was really back heavy. But because, starting from All That I'm Not onward, but how strongly I felt about it in the second half made me want to go back and check that first half out again to see, okay, like, did this grow on me over the course of the album? Am I going to go back and enjoy the first half more? And I honestly did. I think that this is Yours Truly's best album, in my opinion. I don't think it overstays its welcome. I think it tells a great narrative story about a toxic relationship and the aspects of it that you love in a person or don't love in a person, or love in a person despite that toxicity, and how you can kind of go back and forth on wanting to be with them or actually being with them. I really liked how candid some of the lyrics were on here, especially California Sober, even if that, like you, wasn't one of my favorite songs on the album. I really, outside of like personal taste, right, in terms of, oh, like I might not like this song, like, I don't think that there's really any flaws with this album. I think that it's short and sweet in the best possible way. I think that the lyrical content is really well done. It's conveyed in a way that comes off as like artistic lyricism, but it's candid enough that you feel like you can relate to it if you've ever had any aspect of any of these songs, or especially if you have a toxic relationship. I haven't, thankfully, but the storytelling is done well enough here that you can relate to that person, even if you haven't experienced that as much. And if you have, then I have a feeling that you're going to find a narrative here that you'll really be able to connect with. I also really enjoyed the way that Call My Name, when you replay the album, not transitions necessarily, but energy-wise, goes back into Back to You. And how it's like, you know what, like, at least in my interpretation of it is, you know, everything is fallen apart, but if you wanted me back, like, despite everything, I probably would go back. And then you get that
kind of hectic, more violent energy in the start of Back to You from Call My Name that shows, oh, well, I went back to this person and things got tumultuous again, which I thought was a really neat touch on how the story plays out. And the first, or at least the strongest narrative that I've noticed from one of their albums, almost to the point where I'd be willing to call this like a concept album almost. And so to condense that into sub 30 minutes, in my opinion, is really, really impressive. Another vinyl that I wanted to buy that then had $20 of shipping. So I almost spent $104 today and didn't on either of them. But I almost want to get this one, even though I like the Inertia album more, because this album art fucks.
Yeah, that was the comment that I was about to make. This is one of the coolest album arts I have seen this year. I'm already saying, like, Hivemind Awards 2023 album art of the year, yours truly, Toxic. It's locked in. It is absolutely locked the fuck in.
Yeah, no doubt. Whoever the artist is, you did a really fucking cool job. And the vinyl for this, by the way, is like a translucent black and like that same color of green from that album. It's so fucking cool. I want it so bad. I might break. I
think that's another reason why I wanted this album to be so good, because I want to have a physical copy of this album as well. Because the album art is so cool that I wanted this album to be worthy of having a physical copy. But I wasn't able to make that decision on first listening with a couple weeks of listening to it now. Maybe by the time end of year rolls around, I have a physical copy of this one, because there is a lot to like here.
Oh, absolutely. Jake, would you say that there's a lot to like on this next album?
There is a lot to like on this next album.
Tell us about it.
Stand Atlantic was here, and they certainly are, with their new album, Was Here.
I'd rather be lonely, hate myself than someone you think about. I got a nosebleed if you want me dead. Twist the knife while you watch me bleed out.
Not my best transition, I'm gonna be honest, but
hey, we've had worse.
Stand Atlantic.
not our worst.
Stand Atlantic had, I would say, very high expectations from both Derek and
unequivocally. Almost impossible expectations.
Impossible expectations is a fantastic way to put it. At some point, the hill is too steep to climb anymore. When you're already at the peak, like, you can only jump so high, you know? Before eventually you jump too high and lose your balance on the way down and take a couple steps back. And I feel like that's kind of what this album is. It's a couple steps back, but it is still a damn good album. And for the most part, I'd say it's a very front-heavy album. A lot of the best songs on this album come in the front half. The opening... Honestly, the opening 5 songs are all phenomenal. Wake Up, Sit Down, Shut Up is a fantastic opener with a really eerie atmosphere to build into. It's almost like you're getting lured in. Like, do you really want to come in and listen to this sort of thing? I don't know. It just has a really cool build to it, and instrumentation's fantastic. Frenemies, fantastic song. Girls, fantastic song.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then you get into I would say Wake Up, Sit Down, Shut Up and Frenemies, and then Freaking Out into Nosebleed are probably 2 of my favorite moments on this album, other than Warzone, which is still my favorite song on this album. But the 1-2 punch of Freaking Out into Nosebleed is phenomenal. That Freaking Out into Nosebleed had me thinking, oh, Stand Atlantic are still at the fucking peak, because those 2 songs are so fucking good. It's like just absolutely incredible song. Like, Freaking Out lyrically is fairly simple, but the instrumentation is just so cool. Again, I feel like Wake Up, Sit Down, Shut Up and Freaking Out both have just really cool instrumentation. And Nosebleed is just incredibly catchy with fantastic lyricism as well. It's just such a strong opening to the album. I am all on board for Stand Atlantic. They're making another run to my top 10 albums of the year. Back half of the album kind of takes the foot off the gas a little bit. Not to say that it's bad, but Girls a Gun, Rockstar, Sex on the Beach, Killer is not the strongest ending to an album, in my opinion. I feel like Fear had a much stronger ending with Cabin Fever into Molotov. And I'm just not I feel like the best way for me to put it is that they just let off the gas a little bit. It's a very front heavy album, and my God, is that front heavy. Some absolutely incredible Stand Atlantic songs, but when Fear and Pink Elephant were so phenomenal, like they did not take their foot off the gap once for years with those two albums. And for as good as the front half of this album is, I'm not resonating with the back half as much.
Can I be so for real?
Yeah,
Do it.
It's so for real.
I think 17 Reprise is the best song on this album.
You're so valid for that. I don't agree, but like I'm up. Yes, yes. And I want to, in talking about the Reprise, I also want to highlight 17 for being. I feel like a lot of Stand Atlantic songs are candid, right? And they're honest and they're funny and they're just upbeat. But there's always that one on every album. Like for instance, there's Drink to Drown on what was that? Pink Elephant. There's Toothpick on, God, what is the name of that album? Lavender Bones? And I forget what the one was on Fear, but I remember it was a fucking banger. 17, I think, is the deepest out of all of them and probably the most heavy in terms of lyrical content. And I think that on an album that is largely a little more punchy than their previous albums, to also have something like that is a really good contrast.
It's harder.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that candidness is what's missing from this album as a whole. It was really present on Fear and Pink Elephant. The quirkiness of Stand Atlantic has taken a different direction on this album, and I don't think it was pulled off as successfully. And like you said, Jake,
can I make a counter argument to that?
Yeah,
I feel like the quirkiness is still there. It has just pivoted to being even more lesbian.
Well, I mean,
and as straight white dudes, I don't think we're resonating with that as much.
Well,
like,
no, I don't. I wouldn't
maybe
say that, because I think
like,
most of the songs on
Straw
here that I
Hat
like,
Boys.
besides "Girl Is a Gun," are like my favorite songs. Are have the we'll say they have the lesbian in them. That's what we'll say. But no, I really, I don't know. It's this album is, you know, you talk about being front heavy, which I agree with. I think sonically, in many aspects, it's just a little too inconsistent. While you had Fear, well, it was all over the place, right, in certain ways, but there was always that cohesion behind everything. And you could always feel like you were listening to the same album and front to back, just taken along for a smooth, albeit a little bumpy ride. Like, you were in it. In this, I think that there are enough moments or tone shifts in the way that the album is organized to the point where, as a whole, it just isn't nearly as strong. And I would have honestly been more surprised if they were able to put something out on the level or better than Fear. I think that the crash was a little bit inevitable, but I will say that what this album does give me hope for is, even if I'm not as high on it, is their next album. Because I think that this kind of heavier side to Stand Atlantic, both in terms of lyricism and instrumentation, we saw a little bit of that on Molotov, right?
And Cabin Fever, too.
And Cabin Fever, exactly. So this is a natural next progression. And if that's the case, there's going to be growing pains. It's too much of a transition that if they'd have pulled it off, I think it would have been more surprising if they didn't. What I do appreciate about this is the obvious earnesty and care that was put into making this album. And I
this
think
feels like a much more personal album than Fear Pink Elephant ever were.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. Which I think is something that they've now demonstrated that they can have a strong suit in. It's just a matter of how they execute it. If you trim some of the fat off of this, refine some of the, I guess, the different ideas that they have here, we're going to get a really, really good album. And I guess if they're following the same pattern, 2026, or maybe whenever we get it, like even if I don't love the album, it gives me faith for the next one, because I know just how talented Stand Atlantic are, and the ideas here are so well done. So hats off to them, I would say.
I want to put some of the lyrics on this album that I really resonated with, just while we're on the topic of how personal a lot of this album feels. From freaking out. The I'm up all night, it's a paradise, I'm freaking out. Feed me a line like a parasite. I feel like that taps into like drug and frat culture a little bit, and how like you're having what looks like a great time, but on the inside, like your brain is fucked up. And then Nosebleed, the opening line and chorus of that song, I'd rather be lonely and hate myself than someone you think about. Like, geez, that's harsh. That's brutal, you know? Like,
Yeah.
And then Warzone is obviously like the pissed off, angry song on the album. The bitch, I'm like a cyclone entering the war zone. Say it to my face. I get, you could argue that Warzone is targeted at us because, like, I feel like we've generally been pretty positive on this album. We have our flaws and criticisms of it, but you can argue that like Blunt's about to come into our stream chat here like, what the fuck are you criticizing my album about? Like, bitch, I'm like a cyclone entering the war zone, fuck y'all. And then you also get the front row seat to my breakdown, nothing ever feels like it should now, on freaking out, I think, as well. I really liked that, and the delivery of that as well was fantastic. And then I'm not going to get into the lyrics on 17. If you are really curious, you can go look at them for yourself. It is not an easy song to listen to.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely not.
It's hard to listen to. It's hard to process. I don't really have many other words to say about that one, in all honesty. It's a shame that a song like that even has to be written, but
yeah,
the world's a fucked up place sometimes. So
yeah,
overall, like, my final conclusion is they took their foot off the gas a little bit, but Stand Atlantic, their floor is still so high that even when they take their foot off the gas, you're still given an incredible album. And that takes us to our final album for our August recap here. Another band that was a previous top 10 album of the year for me. Well, artist, rather. MOTHICA has released her brand new album, Kissing Death.
Falling for temptation, curiosity killed the moth.
Derek, did you get to this, or am I stepping onto my soapbox here?
You're stepping onto your soapbox because I've been busy as shit, but I am curious to see what you thought about it, to know what my expectations should be going into this.
All right. There are very few people in the alternative scene, alternative pop, alternative rock, whatever kind of genre you want to stick MOTHICA into. There are very few people that are able to execute on a vision the way that MOTHICA is able to. The story that Nocturnal was able to tell is a big reason why it is one of my favorite albums of all time. Kissing Death similarly takes a completely different concept and executes on it masterfully. The difference between Nocturnal and Kissing Death is that sonically, I am not resonating with these songs nearly as much. The story here and the execution is there. Like, if I was sonically enjoying the individual songs on here as much as I was enjoying Nocturnal, as much as I was enjoying Blood, as much as I was enjoying Sensitive, and so many other songs on Nocturnal, if I was enjoying songs on this album as much as I was enjoying songs off of Nocturnal, this is easily a top 10 album of the year. What gives me some hesitation on giving it such high praise is just that I'm not resonating with it as much. And I don't know if it's that, whereas Nocturnal was much more ambiguous about anxiety and mental health and the things that happen to you when you let your mind spiral, this album tells a very explicit story about kissing death in the way that the album title says. That's exactly what it's about. Like, if I pull out some of the lyrics here, the opening intro track, The Void, falling backwards upside down, I got too high, I lost myself, this never-ending wall of sound, you can't avoid the void. You can't avoid the void, as in you can't avoid death. Death is coming for us all, it's just a matter of when. And you get into Exit Planet on Another High, which that opening 3-track run is actually my favorite section of the album. I think it's a phenomenal opening to the album. But you get on Exit Plan, I've been so obsessed with romanticizing death. I know how the story ends. But how do you live when you don't want to die anymore? And then in another high, it's like, I just want to live another high. But it reiterates the same lyric from Exit Plan. But how do you live when you don't want to die anymore? Which I think really, it's not often that I have ever heard lyrics reused in a second song to like add emphasis to it. I'm sure there are examples of it that I could think of.
Sleep token.
I am not deep enough in the Sleep Token lore, and I'm not big enough of a Sleep Token fan to be able to comment on that. But I really, really like the reiteration of, but how do you live when you don't want to die anymore? Because I feel like it really sells the idea of kissing death and wanting to give up on everything, and then flip it. Whatever happens to flip that switch in your head that you don't want to die anymore, like, well, now what, you know? Like, you've planned, maybe not your whole life, but for however long that, like, your life was going to end, what do you do now? When, now it's like, the possibilities are endless, and that's, like, almost just as daunting, you know? But then you get into the big stretch of singles. We haven't talked about any of them since the lead single, Doomed. I feel like Doomed should be a song that I like more. But to me, Doomed feels like a song that should fall later in the album. And I know that this album, there's going to be a music video for every song on this album. And so Doomed very specifically is the fourth track in this story. But to me, it feels like a track 8 or a track 9 sort of energy in the slow build that it has. And again, it's touching back on what I was saying earlier, that I'm just not resonating sonically with songs as much as I was on Nocturnal, which is a shame. That leads into Curiosity Killed the Moth, my favorite song on this album on an individual basis. I love the EDM song structure and synthy lean that it has. How it just has a really unique song structure, and how the chorus of the song feels like a pre-chorus, and it doesn't ever feel like there actually is a chorus. It's just a super unique and creative song. And obviously MOTHICA being MOTHICA, Curiosity Killed the Moth, just a funny little tie-in to her kind of brand around MOTHICA as a group and as a project and as an album, so to say. And one of my favorite lyrics that I've come to attach with on that song in particular is in that chorus of, I've got a sick and twisted fascination, my own decimation, me and Icarus. It goes on, but that I've got a sick and twisted fascination, my own decimation is a really, really powerful lyric. And it hits home again, that idea of kissing death and like that idea of wanting to just give up on life. Leads into the next stretch of songs. You got Red, The Reaper, and Toxins. The Reaper, I think, is a bit of a turning point in the album. You're talking about death a lot for the first half of this album, and then The Reaper kind of introduces you to the idea of the physical manifestation of death, where lyrically you have, it could always be worse, it's not like he's a criminal, I know I'm not his first, in my bed he's incredible. And then later in the song you get, it's not easy to find someone dependable, I don't care that he thinks my life is expendable, at least he's reliable. Like, damn, that's it's almost hard to hear, but I think it's really, really fascinating and just well done songwriting to be able to sell the concept of this album. Sonically also, it has a bit more of an EDM poppier song structure that I really enjoyed as well. Afterlife leans more into the slower synthwave vibes that I've really enjoyed, which kind of ties into the back half of the album of giving up on the idea of kissing death. And you get to the title track, the closer, I'm sick of kissing death, I'd rather be friends, I know how this ends. There's a bunch of other lyrics throughout the rest of the album that convey this theme. Those were just a handful of lyrics that I personally resonated with and found to be the most powerful in the story. But again, as I said at the start of this, MOTHICA has a way of telling a story through lyrics and through music that I feel like very few other artists are able to do. There is such a skill and talent in MOTHICA's songwriting and delivery of a concept that there are very few other artists I can think of that can execute on it in such a way. It's just a shame that I am not resonating with it sonically as much, because there is so much to love here. But I can only do so much to make myself want to love something. Ultimately, like, if I'm not enjoying listening to the song, all of the inner details aren't going to mean as much, you know?
Right.
That's kind of where I'm at with this album. It's a fantastic, phenomenal album that I wish I was able to resonate with more, and has me cautious for how far do I shove this up my top 10 albums of the year. Does it even make the top 10? Because I think on the merit of what this album offers as like a concept, I think it does offer another top 10 worthy album. Do I enjoy it enough? Are there going to be 10 other albums that I can say I enjoy listening to this more? Or is the story so compelling that it's something that sticks with me more than the songs itself? Time will tell. Time will tell.
I'm very compelled to listen to this now. I can't wait. Probably gonna do it tomorrow. Ironically enough, that I'll have time.
Yeah.
Ugh.
That's kind of all I have to say on this MOTHICA album, and given that Derek, you don't listen to it, Justin and Jacob, I can't imagine you have too much to say on this MOTHICA album. That's gonna wrap up our August recap, I believe.
In record time.
One of our shorter ones.
Yeah, we've had 2 shorter months. I expected this to be a longer month, actually. But
well, I think
we
it
did
helps
good.
a lot of stuff was going to be dropping on the 30th at the time of recording this. Plus, I'm looking at a lot of the stuff that I saved from the month, and none of it really struck a chord as much as what I added. Like, Nightlife helped produce a song from a band called Echo Break that I was potentially adding to the playlist, but decided against it in favor of Flesh
Cold.
Flesh Cold. There you go. Sorry, I couldn't think.
Yeah,
of the name.
there were a bunch of other songs that I was debating adding as well, but again, it's either like bands that are releasing albums or EPs in the near future, or songs that just I like, but I don't have enough to say about them in comparison to some of my favorites of the month. If I'm gonna spitball a couple here, Bad Valentine released a really fun song this month. Rivals released a really fun song this month. Chrissy Costanza put out another great song this month. Anna's Okay put out their first new song in a while, and I quite enjoyed it. It was really cool, but again, I think a lot of those we'll be talking about in the future on bigger releases, so I wanted to prioritize some of these other songs that I spent more time with throughout the month.
Trevor Bork, Windwalkers, did a feature with a band called Escape called Feel the Pain, and that's one of Trevor's heavier features. For those that like heavy Windwalkers, I definitely recommend it. That wraps this up. September is fucked.
September is fucked. Indeed.
Yep. We're gonna split into 3.
We will have a lot to talk about. So be sure to stay tuned. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We do these monthly recaps live. You can hang out in the chat with us as we discuss these episodes live if you want to share your opinions on any of these songs. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at @HivemindRadio_ and interact with all our stuff there. And be sure to follow us on Spotify as well if you want to listen to the audio version of this podcast when it goes up a couple days after the live stream. And be sure to check out the playlist for this month. If any of the songs that we talked about this month interest you, be sure to check out the playlist. Everything that we discussed this month will be in the playlist, so you can go and find some new hidden gems that we talked about. Go give the playlist a spin, because there was a lot of fantastic music this August. But with that, that's going to wrap up our August recap. September is going to be crazy. The back half of 2024 is looking to heat up, and we will be there to talk about it all. So thank you for listening, and have a good one. See you next month.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.